Welcome back to Sub-Zero Hero. Don't worry, you've not missed an episode. This isn't the next youth intake. This is the previous youth intake. I've loaded up an old save file. Do you remember the last youth intake I thought was absolutely terrible? I only took 3 players on from it. But during that episode, some people did say down in the comments, don't forget you're going to need a squad of players, not just a first 11. You don't just have to take on the players that might go on to be players that you could sell on to clubs around Europe in the future. You're going to need some backups as well. And that resonated a little bit because I'm managing the under-19 squad and we were desperately short of players. So just before their contracts expired, I actually went back and I signed 3 more of these boys. By the time they accepted the contracts, they'd actually left the club. So they actually arrived triumphantly like a trio of new signings. They even got a little press conference to welcome them. And it might surprise you, the 3 that we decided to take on. The first was Lars Ola Esbjord. We'll take a look at him as he was 7 or 8 months ago. A terrible personality, which is why I didn't like him. Physically unspectacular, mentally a little suspect, and technically almost non-existent. But he was the best of the 3 that I went back and signed. One of the other ones was the worst player of the youth intake, according to the head of youth development. It's Peter Sandelin, who has a good personality, fairly professional. I actually thought his attributes weren't terrible, but the head of youth development was telling me that this was a half-star player with the potential maybe only to be a 1-star player. I thought maybe this was as good as he was going to get, but I went back, I signed him up, took a chance on him. We're going to show you how he's developed in a minute. It might even surprise you. The other player we took on was Henrik Nilsson. Now, I ummed and ahed about offering him a contract because he did have a good personality, but this lack of potential coupled with some pretty lacklustre attributes meant that originally I decided to give him the old heave. It wasn't until we got comments down in the comments section that I eventually offered him a contract. I reckon we should show you how these boys have developed. So bravo comment section. Here are our boys. We'll start with Lars Ola Esbjord. Still got that terrible personality, and he's not improved too much if I'm honest, but the coaches are now ranking his potential a little bit more highly. The determination is still not where you would like it to be, but as a player for the under-19s, well, he's a good bench warmer for us. But the other two have taken me by surprise a little bit. This is Peter Sandelin, who is branded as an enthusiastic striker. I think he could equally slot into the midfield there. Physically, he's starting to look the part a little bit. Mentally, he's got some pretty pleasing attributes. Technically, he's not going to be a first-team player anytime soon, although I have given him a couple of dalliances from the bench just because he's been training so well. But the player who I think has made the biggest progress is Henrik Nilsson. He's got a resolute personality, which I should have given more faith to. He's gone up 4 attribute points in some of the areas of his game. And I know these up arrows sometimes make people look a lot better than they actually are. But I'm starting to think there might be a player here. Could it be a right back? Could it be a much needed centre half? I mean, he is 6'1" after all. Could it even be a player who's going to sit in front of the back 4 because he can tackle, he can mark? Some of these mental attributes lend itself to playing a more defensive game physically. I think he could be complete double figures by the end of the season. He's only a pup, he's not 16 for another couple of months yet. And I am mighty glad that I went back and offered him that contract late in the day, because I think he is a player who could see every single attribute go into double figures, bar perhaps his finishing, his long shots and his flair. Everything else I think could get up to 10s, 11s, 12s. And he's also got some nice little mental attributes in there that are already looking very encouraging. He's made a couple of appearances off the bench as well. So this little trio of late additions to the youth development signings might be a little bit more involved than we'd originally intended. However, we very nearly pulled off a much bigger signing than that. So one of our academy graduates, Martin Dusun-Dibson, has been on the move. He has transferred from Vålerenga to Nordsjælland in Denmark. He went for a pretty reasonable fee, 3.6 million, although not all of that was up front. We decided to match the Danes' offer. We put in an audacious little attempt to bring Martin Dusun-Dibson back. His agent said that he would walk back over hot coals to join the club that he grew up supporting. The only trouble is, he was pretty insistent on being paid £11,000 a week. Now, our top earner is on about £1,200 per week, but we went big. We offered him £5,000 plus some very attractive bonuses, but Martin was not to be convinced. And I guess if you can pick up £11,000 a week going and playing in Denmark, well, you're probably going to do it. So it meant that he moved on. We did get 25% of the fee, which was pretty nice, which means those finances are looking pretty healthy. We've got 4.5 million squidlets in the bank account, and we've also got an awful lot of work that's forthcoming to our training and our youth facilities that's already paid for. So that's 4.5 million in the bank that's hopefully going to keep us solvent for the next year or two. So that's what's been going on behind the scenes. I think we should bring you up to speed on what's happening on the pitch. So we're just 7 games to go of the season. Things are not looking too shabby. We are in the shake-up, kids. I will warn you, after the last episode where we played okay, got spanked 5-2 by Bodø Glimt. I was worried that our season might peter out a little bit, but we sprung back into life in the next game. We got a 2-0 win against Kristiansand. Skog 1 got the first goal for us. And then little Morten Størvold got a game. And he rewarded us with a goal. He was playing as the central midfielder with an attack function. And he burst into the box, tucked away a rebounded effort. We've seen him score some screamers in the cup. He's got a goal for us in the league now. And then we followed that up with a worse performance, perhaps, but certainly not a 3-0 defeat kind of performance. We had almost as many shots as them. Granted, their XG was a little bit higher than ours, but they got a goal late on to make the result look more convincing than it honestly was. We had some pretty poor performances out there, especially from some of our more defensively minded players. But since then, we've gone undefeated and we've played a couple of tough teams. We got a 0-0 draw against Molde, who are right behind us in the table. We had a 3-week international break where we played a friendly and drew 2-2. Then we played Rosenborg and we got a 1-1 draw. Now, granted, our goal came from a set piece, but in the second half we had another goal disallowed, and that was a tight offside. I was getting pretty excited when that effort went in. They managed to get an equaliser, but we did not capitulate. We held out. The match stats suggest that they should have got a winner, but you don't turn your nose up at a point at Rosenborg. And since then, we've had back-to-back 3-1 wins. We had a couple of goals from Skogdal in this game, and another from Christian Tysperovic, who's been getting a little bit more game time for us now. He's training well. He's been going out as a right winger for us, so that our mate Skogdal could switch from the right wing and play as striker for a couple of games. And he's been in the goals. He's got 9 in 21 for the season now. And we also got a 3-1 win in our last game as well. We were playing Stabæk. We looked pretty good in this game. We got a goal late on to make it a little bit more convincing, but Tysperovic was on the score sheet again. We've been pretty pleased with his performances. So here is how the league table is looking. If we get the full table up there, you'll see that we are in 5th, but tied on points with Vålerenga in 4th, only a point behind Lillestrøm, who are in 3rd. Now the trouble is, Vålerenga have a game in hand, so do Molde behind us, but even if they win it, they can't overtake us. So going into the final furlong, we're there with a chance. The big question is, will 4th place get a European qualification spot? Well, here's the sitch. You've got Bodø Glimt top of the table, but also in the Norwegian Cup final. Who were they playing? Vålerenga. Vålerenga win that cup final, they're getting that European spot. But we could climb the table and finish 4th above Vålerenga, and Bodø Glimt were to beat them in the Norwegian Cup final. well, not only will Vålerenga suffer the heartbreak of losing that Norwegian Cup final, but we will also snag that final European place. However, a really strong end to the season. And we could still finish third, you know, and third will be guaranteed a spot in Europe. That will be good, not just to help the boys develop, but also to keep those finances looking pretty healthy. Maybe next thing we should do is show you the lineup that we're going to send out for a game today. So here's our lineup for today's game against Brann, who are one of the big teams in Norwegian football that's struggling this season just outside the relegation zone. We've got a little bit of an injury dilemma. Our first choice keeper, Bjorn Pedersen, has been out for 10 days with a twisted knee and is out for another day or two. Normally I rush a keeper back if they're only out for another day, but the nature of that injury, a twisted knee, means I'm not entirely comfortable picking him. So I've brought Alexei Volkov back from his loan spell at a first division club, and he's going to start between the sticks for us today. I'm not sure he's ever going to be a Premier Division goalkeeper. He's certainly not there yet. Even our first choice keeper, Pedersen, is only described by the coaches as a good player for first division sides. Neither of them are really Premier Division quality, but we're going to give Volkov the nod today. The other player that we are missing is Morten Størvold, who's been out for a couple of weeks injured. He's fit enough to be back on the bench today, but we're going to leave Runnigan in the central midfield, where he's played the last couple of games as our central midfielder with the attack duty, which means we're going to play Skogdal as our central striker and bring Thijs Berevik back to play on the wing for us, where he's started the last couple of games and rewarded us with some good performances. So we've got a couple of Skogs and a Thijs out there on the right wing. Brann is always a tough game, but as we were just reminded in the press conference, we've got a decent old record against them. Let's get out there and see how we do. So you know the season's going okay when you're able to give them the pick up where you left off last match, team talk, but this is a different proposition. Brann may be towards the bottom of the table, but they're a good side. And we have got a very raw goalkeeper between the sticks for us. But we've been playing okay the last few games, particularly picking up points against Molde and Rosenborg. Well, that was encouraging for us. We'd like to try and get a positive result today. And who let the Skogs out? Because Skogfang Pedersen has managed to get us off to an early lead. Thank you, Liam, for the who let the Skogs out line. Very disappointed in myself that I did not think of that one. But I tell you what, Skog has drifted in, hasn't he? Off his wing, he's given it the chicken celebration. Not even at 10 minutes, and we are 1-0 up. That is a pleasing start. We're interested, by the way, to see how the other two members of our front three get on. Thijs Berevik's been playing very well. Skogdal has looked good as the central striker. If we could get all three of those players firing towards the end of the season, it will not half give us a good chance of squeezing our way into that top 3 or 4. Defensively, we know there's gaps. We know that there's weaknesses. With a goalkeeper who's very, very limited between the sticks, you don't bank on keeping clean sheets, but going forward, we've got some talent. Herem has now had an effort. But Vandermeer, the opposition keeper, has managed to claim it. You'll see, look, as these results stand right now, we're up to third, by the way. Rosenborg and Bodø/Glimt have gone. They have raced ahead of the pack, but third place could be on, but we've got to keep on winning. Very difficult to see what's going out on that far touchline because these are pretty treacherous conditions for football today. The sleet is falling. They've had an effort. They've pumped it into the side netting. You know, when the blue lines are marked out on the pitch, that winter is drawing in Norway. We've got the ball in again. Oh, Skogfang Pedersen has had another effort at the far post. That was a routine effort. He probably should have tucked that away, but those match stats are looking pretty pleasing. In fact, let's pause the game and let's shout out that they're doing okay so far. Let's get the body language up. We're straight into a highlight. Hopefully those little words of encouragement might just spur them on. Heidecker, who's been back in the team, training a little bit better as well. Grachev, who has been immense with the assists that he's got this season over from that left flank. Playing pretty controlled. Skogvang Pedersen's drifted in off his wing. He's had another effort. He is looking in the mood today, isn't he? 9 shots, 5 on target, an XG of almost 1. Bran have just had the 1 effort, but we're only 1 goal up. And I'm never easy at 1 goal up with the defensive frailties that we've got. We've got Burnson, we've got Heron, we've got the ball in. Tice Sperovic's had a go. It's taken a deflection. It's gone out for a corner. Tice Sperovic will be on them. He's our best bet out there. Corner taking of 10. But now we look like we could get countered on. They've got the ball. They're out wide. We've got numbers back. But the numbers we've got back are not very solid, not very secure. And they've got the ball in the box. And they had an effort, didn't they? Highlights continuing though. Grachev now. Can we launch a little counter of our own? We can't. And we're getting into injury time. And it is half time. And you'll say that that was a good performance. But we're nowhere near being comfortable in this game. We'll have a little word with the boys. We'll see you for the second half in a moment. Okay, we are back underway. No changes. Performances so far are looking pretty good. We've not seen Volkov called into action in goal yet, so that's got to be a positive. But now they've got a free kick. Can we head this away and counter, or is this a chance for them? It is a chance for them, and Jonsson has nudged it home, and it looks like one of our defenders was there marking him. I think it was Jawad, you know, and wasn't able to pick him up. Jawad has gone across to him. He didn't get close enough. And now it's 1-1. We gave them the don't get complacent talk at half-time. They did not listen. And that drops us down to 6th place. We'd only be... we'd be a point behind Mulder in 4th. We'd be 3 points behind Vålerenga in 3rd. But we need a winner in this game. In fact, the match stats dictate that we should be in the lead. I think we might need a substitution now. Ready for the last 25 minutes. Okay, we've made a change. We've brought Sturvold into the midfield. We've switched Skogdal over to the right wing. We've put Runnigan back as the number 9. And it hasn't helped because Bran have scored. It's a headed goal. It was a poor effort and at the far post. They've got in twice on us now. Look to be no danger. They've sent a nothing ball in. It's just a hopeful little lump over. The right back has not gone with his man. They've nudged it past Volkov. Would Pedersen have saved that? I think you'd say he would. We're going to have to go attacking this. He's now looking like we're going to be 4 points behind Vålerenga in 3rd. They've only had 2 shots on target this game. And my goodness, they have scored with them both. We're going to have to make some tweaks. I think we could be bringing Tiny Emperor on because we need a salvage operation in this last 10. Okay, we've gone 4-2-4 with Emperor up front as a target man just to try and drag us back in, but it's not happening so far. We're going to demand more, but we're into injury time. We've not even had a chance. This is going to be the last kicks of the game, and Emperor, he's fired a bullet header home. It's a point. It's not what we wanted. But when you've thrown away your goal lead to go 2-1 down, and you're into injury time, you'll take it. Was it Ronigan or was it Grachev? I think it's Grachev that has fired it over. Emperor is so tall he's actually had to bend over to head that one. He has stooped and he has conquered. And we've rescued a point. All right, the performance dictates that we should have got all 3. Were they unlucky? Were we happy? We were not. We're going to say that simply was not good enough. Some decent performances, but we let them in twice at the back. Was that because of Volkov's frailties? Would Pedersen maybe have kept one of those 2 efforts out? I'm not sure, but that point is crucial. It lifts us to 5th. We're a point behind in 4th. If, by the way, Vålerenga were to finish 3rd, then even if they did win the cup final against Bodø Glimt, if we could just get 4th place with Vålerenga above us in the table, I think we're there, and I think we're in Europe. So there's only one game to come back for, and that's going to be the final game of the season. Fingers crossed. We're still in with a chance of qualifying for continental qualification spots, because then we will be well on our way to being Sub-Zero heroes.